thing. This usually now asks us, okay, what would you like to name your package? This is the bundle ID. We'll just stick to the default here. Same for iOS, and then it will create native folders for Android and iOS based on our application. Now, here things get a bit more complicated because you can now launch them through Android Studio, Xcode. You can continue to use the Expo CLI. There's the term continuous native generation. So there's a lot already going on after you leave the comfort of the Expo Go application. But bear with me, we're gonna walk through this. So now that you have these Android and iOS folders, the easiest way to run your application is going ahead with npx expo run and then follow this up with either Android or iOS. So I will just do npx expo run iOS. I will also now close this so we see what's going on. We don't need this right now. By the way, if you run no npx prebuild and just run npx expo run iOS, it will actually also on the first run do a prebuild of your project. So it's kind of the same. And this might take a while because now we are actually building our own native application that will be built to our device. So let's wait until this is finished. Alright, so the build finished and we kind of see the same output. It looks like we're still using the Expo Go application or what's going on, but notice the difference. We are now using a development build. So this is an important term. And there you can actually still switch to the Expo Go app by pressing S. So now we have a build and the simulator here asks if I want to open this. So I click open. And we get kind of the same experience that we had before. Once again, we should have live reload, so I can change something and it quickly changes in here as well. What has changed? Now, this is our own application. You see, I launched this and I did not launch the Expo Go application. That means on my device, I also now lost the connection. If I wanted to also deploy this to a device, I would have to follow up the commands, so I don't want to mess up the command. Let's do a new terminal, npx run iOS -- device. Then I could build straight to my connected device. And by the way, this should now also work over the network, so you don't even have to connect your device to your computer. One caveat also that I want to quickly mention is I'm running this here on a Mac. And you need a Mac to do a pre-build for iOS and to run this project on iOS, the simulator, like this. If you're on a Windows machine, you can only do this for Android and you have to use EAS, which we will talk about in the end. So now we have our development build. As I said, everything's pretty much the same, but look at this. If I now press Command Control Z, I get the default React Native debugging menu because this is sort of a default application. It is a bit similar to what Expo Eject did in the past. You know, Expo Eject doesn't exist anymore and pre-build is the thing that gives you the most flexibility. So at this point, I can install any kind of native module in my React Native application with Expo and use it here in my pre-build. If I want to get back this cool debugging menu, so this is also described here as the developer menu, which you can, by the way, customize. If I want to get back this thing, I have to run a new command. So let's kill this and let's run npx expo install the expo dev client. If you install this package, your final application resembles more closely what you have seen previously in the Expo Go application. The only downsides to this approach is that in general, if you install a new package, you have to do a new npx expo run iOS. Also, one more thing to be aware of is if you add a new module that changes something in your app JSON, like under plugins, there's a new module, a new config plugin added that changes your native project. What you have to do is usually run again npx expo prebuild -- clean. Okay, so you don't need true or false at the end. You just need npx expo prebuild clean. This will basically wipe out your iOS and Android folders in your project and do a new clean pre-build based on everything, all the information in your app JSON. In the meantime, here's the project coming up and you see This is now using the developer menu. It gives you access to useful tools in your development builds. You can open it anytime with whatever. So let's continue, and we see if I now press Control Command Z here, I get the dev client menu that I'm used to from the Expo Go application. So this is pretty much everything that you have to understand about Expo pre-builds. I think if you understand what Expo Go is, that is this bundled app experience with pre-configured SDK versions and plugins that you can use to quickly spin up something, and you can then opt out to do a pre-build and run npx expo run iOS or Android on the simulator or on a connected device, then you know like 80-85% about how you can build your React Native project with Expo, because usually this is now enough to debug and develop your application, because the pre-build, as I said, gives you 100% flexibility. You can install any native module, you can use config plugins and continuous native generation. As you can see here, we're still running live. This is like a live test, a live reload and hot reload of our application with Expo Run and not the Expo Go application. However, let's take things a step further now. You might be coming from Android Studio or iOS or Xcode as a native developer, and you're asking yourself, but maybe I just want to run it through these tools. How could I do that? Good question. I'm here to show you exactly this. So as I said, we do have an Android and iOS folder after doing our pre-build. So the pre-build is kind of like the prerequisite to do what we do now. What I want to do is I would actually like to open this. I previously could really open this this folder right here. Let's reveal it in the Finder. And then I will open the XC workspace. So this is a traditional Xcode project. Now, let's see what can we do. We can deploy this to the iPhone 15 Pro. I can do a run up here. And of course, at the same time, we could launch Android Studio. And within Android Studio, we could do something similar. Actually, I will open Android Studio because it takes like ages to open the stuff. So let's bring in the Android folder here and click open in Android Studio. Yes, I trust that project. And then let's put this to the background because this takes some time to initialize. In the meantime, Xcode is building my application. And I intentionally want to show you something that usually goes wrong at this point. So when you build your application through Xcode for whatever reason, maybe you just, I don't know, like it, you like Xcode, you like the debugging tools of Xcode, I don't know, for whatever reason you're doing this. So if you do it from here, we see app is launching, but soon we should discover a problem because we already see it's trying to connect to Metro to develop JavaScript, but it's not really working. The problem here is that we still now need to start our local development server, because if I check this out, you see nothing is running. So I do have to run npx expo start again, -- dev client. I don't know if I need that. I will just do npx expo for the moment. If I do this and I fetch this, we see now I can select my build again, I can connect, and my app is working straight through Xcode. Okay, what did we just do? Well, we just built the application, the React Native application through Xcode, but this app is still pointing to our local Metro server, which means